Hello, good people. Welcome to Deep Listens, the Off the Deep End gang. We're back here in this Off the Deep End streak that we're doing. What do we do on Off the Deep End episodes of Deep Listens? If you didn't know, if you're showing up for the first time, howdy if you are, we are the posse that explores role-playing video games in depth, hence Deep, co-opted the Deep Listens brand. My name is Jeff Rude. I am the host and the fragment of the Forgotten Past. Joining me, as always, on these Off the Deep End episodes, we have the young Yangus in the mysterious dungeon of our gang, Braden. Arbitrary Water Redacted. Hello, Braden.
Does that mean we're the Baywatch Knights of the Deep Listens podcast network?
If we could only aspire to have such a lofty title. Also joining us, the World Trees Woe and the Blight Below, it's Chris, Zombie Pie Redacted. Hello, Chris.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to also issue a bit of a correction to one Braden Arbitrary Water. I once talked his ear off about Star Wars Eclipse and how I thought the game would tackle the Celestials and the Null, but a growing body of evidence has basically proven my hunch incorrect. It looks like it's going to be a hardcore takes place either at the end of the High Republic era or during the peak of the High Republic era, with the Golden Age of Coruscant and the Age of Construction on the later portions of the High Republic timeline. But when you look at the trailer, it looks like it's already well constructed. But the biggest hint that we have that we're dealing with late era High Republic stuff is when we look at the Lucreholt class battleship in the teaser trailer, and it's way more heavily armed than what the Rusan reformations would have allowed pre-Clone Wars. And I mean, you're looking at multiple starships on that trailer that look like the Tri-Droid pre-designed Tri-Droid starship design that the official Trade Federation used, but then probably before the Trade Federation became the CIS.
Braden, what's happening?
No idea in terms of what the Lord Harkon, the Black Goose stuff is all about, but I mean, they're saying that the gentleman who was banging on the drum was in an area full of tree roots, but then that would only suggest that we're dealing with the Denganiers.
I know there's a mute mic, but Star Wars talk, and he's muted. Cool. All right. Remember that time we muted you recently? I didn't actually mute. Star Wars. Yeah. Everyone likes that hot property. I only watched that goddamn episode 9 like a month and a half ago, and I'm still upset about it.
I love downstream pop culture.
Yeah. Here we have now switched over to an IGN style, like, here's a recap of what you missed the last 5 minutes of this Marvel movie.
Have you seen the Book of Boba Fett? Boba Fett's in it.
Voidberger got such a good burn in that last fucking bombcast. Just like, yeah, like, no one died. Everyone fought and no one died. That's what happened at the end of the prize. Ice cold. Yeah, welcome, hi. Yeah, so we're off our goatee episode. Should be up probably before you hear this. I'd not. It's a lot of fun, and it's a new year, and it's a year where we've talked about getting to fan requests, which we are excited to do. Before we do that, we have some old business. We had some old business. We had some stuff that we wanted to touch on. One of them, we wanted to give ourselves kind of a short boy, or Crimbus. Kind of a thing we could play. It's kind of fluffy in between eating whatever holiday things we eat and or drink and or do. So we pulled out a classic, a seminal work, maybe the most seminal work that we have touched since the first episode, where we did Ultima 4. We played Dragon Quest 1, Aka Dragon Warrior, a game that was originally developed by Chunsoft and published by Enix for Nintendo's Famicom, a family computer, on May 27th, 1986 in Japan, and subsequently released on almost every viable platform you could imagine. Like a shocking number. The MSX, the MSX2, the PC 9801, the Super Famicom. Apparently it got a Satellaview release, according to Wikipedia, which is kind of crazy. The Game Boy Color, Japanese mobile phones, your Dokomos and shit. The Wii, Android, iOS, 3DS, PlayStation 4, and that Nintendo Switch, and a very dog dick ugly version of the game. But we'll talk about that. So yes, we'll be talking about Dragon Quest and not Star Wars ever again, ever. No one likes Star Wars. But if you want to talk about Star Wars with people who must, I suppose, and you want those people to be us, what you could do is consider going to patreon.com/deeplistens, which is a Patreon. Kick in any dollar amount to that, and a couple things will happen. One, you will push us precipitously closer to be having to do a karaoke recording, which I've pledged to do because I'm a fearless man, and I'm a man of my word, and you will have karaoke. It will also get you access to a Discord, wherein you may chat and yell and provide feedback and be part of various dumb polls and shenanigans. And, kick in, and we'll probably let you give us an RPG that we will look at some point, probably this year. We do have a docket that is being filled out, and we appreciate those already filed.
Jeff, what's the ultimate goal? Most important milestone? I don't know. You tell me.
Well, Jeff, if we get, 100 new patrons?
I thought it was lower than that, but sure. We'll play Jeff Rude's favorite game ever made.
1-star Giant Bomb review.
Only because you can't give no stars.
Unlimited Saga.
The Unlimited Saga.
The Unlimited Saga. But just one quick thing, we have been looking at the statistics, and it appears that there are anywhere between 100 to 300 of you that listen to both Off the Deep End and the main Deep Listens podcast using the RSS feed or some version of YouTube or some other podcast reposting networks. If you're out there, it's just $1 a month, a total of $12 for an entire year of quality content that you'd be helping us produce and make and get feedback on. Please, just kick up $1, man. Come on.
Yeah, for the price of a can of cat food a month, you could buy ZP a can of cat food a month.
Provide you with endless entertainment. Please, if you would, just kick up $1.
Yes, endless entertainment. An unlimited saga. Final production note before we get rolling to actual episode shenanigans. You can also reach out and touch us, not only on a Discord, not only on various online platforms where we may broadcast ourselves. You can also send emails to inquiries@deep.lol. If you do so, you may wind up being a little bit like Joe, who writes us again. Surprise, he wrote us. Greetings, Octalion. I appreciate your coverage of Secret of the Stars. Dogpill your listeners on this awful game. First RPG. Stars was always my go-to if I showed up at Hollywood Video too late on a Friday afternoon.
Hell yeah.
To rent what I actually wanted. Played about the same amount as you guys and baffled at how terrible this game is. I do remember that by the end there was something like 8 different vehicles, and I remember loading up the save of a different player on the rental cart and flying around in a plane. When Hollywood Video closed down and liquidated their stock, this was at the top of my most wanted list. However, all I wound up getting from that sale was Brett Hull Hockey for $3. Hell yeah. Interested in your future coverage of Ogre Battle 64, the King of Sour Grapes and 64 catalog games. I recently bought this for a spicy $90, which is probably cheap for it right now.
That's one Shadow Hearts.
It's like
one half Xenosaga 3.
Yeah, like 0.4 Xenosaga. And played through and was kind of disappointed. Game runs out of gas, but 15 hours in, my playthrough was just south of 60. By then you've unlocked promoted classes and you're pretty much done engaging with jobs. It's unfortunate there's not a spiritual successor. Even though 64 is the zenith, it still feels like a half-finished idea. Less so than the original, but still not there. My next Kusoge suggestion, if you cowards are true, Octalion, is Shadow Madness for the PlayStation, a Western Japanese RPG developed by Ted Woolsey. Thanks and stay dog-pilled, Joe Bad.
I know what this game is.
Yeah.
Joe.
That's right. This is the game that almost ended Ted Woolsey's life or career. He left Square Enix to help a studio make a pseudo JRPG from scratch, and it looks... everything I've seen of this game looks like ass and seems like it plays like ass.
I mean, Joe...
I think Joe wants
the game
to kill us.
I got. Yeah, Joe. I think Joe wants to kill us. Also, the thing I got from a Hollywood Video liquidation sale was a copy of the Shinji Mikami directed Suda 51 adjacent game, Shadows of the Dam. It's not very good.
It seems like a fun game, but not a good game.
If you want to hear Steve Bloom talk in a questionable accent with a buddy comedy skeleton gun, it's a video game.
Probably not an RPG.
What was that really bad Kinect baseball game that Suda made?
That is called Diabolical Pitch. And let's see, as far as motion-controlled, vague baseball games go, it seems like your ranking should probably be Let's Catch from Yuji Naka, followed by Diabolical Pitch by Suda51. I think I have the only review for Let's Catch up on Giant Bomb, and that's an incredible piece of software. It's amazing. Diabolical Pitch just seems to be like kind of bad. Let's Catch is at least like very earnest.
Yeah, you seem to have given this Let's Catch game 3 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, it is.
The byline being a logical follow-up to Sonic. Oh, I wish you wrote more.
It has one mechanic, and it is all you do the entire game. And it is just characters just talking to you about their lives, and you healing them with the power of playing a simple game of catch. And it ends with an alien coming down, and you play catch with him on the moon or a spaceship, I think. And this alien is just like, yeah, we were considering blowing up your planet, just killing you all because you were all awful. But then we watched you heal these people with the power of this simple game, and we've learned to appreciate humankind.
Wait. Is this the predecessor to Balan Wonderworld?
He has like a monomyth, the Yuji Naka verse.
Yuji Naka cinematic universe of healing people through the power of mundane actions.
Yeah, you're either running very fast as a hedgehog, playing mundane games of catch, tapping cardboard boxes, turning into a weird jester that throws bosses through walls, or you're a nightmare.
Or you're Rodea the Sky Soldier.
Oh, yeah, disappointing people with Rodea the Sky Soldier after years of overpromising.
I should have bought that. Anyway, yeah, Let's Catch a Diabolical Pitch. I woke up this morning not expecting to think about Diabolical Pitch, and here I am. Anyway, okay. We're going to talk about Dragon Quest, but before we do that, I was told there's a segment. There's a bit.
There is a bit. So this actually is inspired by Braden joining me as I streamed the final moments of me getting through Dragon Quest 1 on stream. Is we were spurned to have this discussion after Gino basically threw a hissy fit about Eternal Sonata is main podcast content and other things like Legend of Dragoon are main podcast content, and he's not going to give it up even though it's our custody. We fought in court, and it's ours. God damn it.
He's our...
I have a long list of RPGs that have not been covered by the main podcast or us that have at least been mentioned at least once. And I'm going to go, and we're not going to have a long discussion because it is a long list, but you're going to say main podcast, Off the Deep End, or none of the above. So I'll say the name of the game, and you're going to say main podcast, Off the Deep End, none. No justification unless you feel very impassioned about saying something. I mean, like short sentences at most, all right? Because it's a long list.
Okay.
All right. We're going to start with the softball one, okay? Mass Effect 2.
That's me.
That's a main podcast.
It's a good game.
Mass Effect Andromeda.
Probably it.
None of the above.
I've sincerely thought about pitching that one.
I'll play it if you pitch it.
Knights of the Old Republic 1.
I don't think the main pod would play it.
I think I agree with you.
So, us by default.
Us.
Knights of the Old Republic 2.
It's 1,000% an us.
That's us.
Fallout 1 or 2.
That's us.
That's us.
Any Diablo game,
Punt.
1 through 3.
None of the well, actually, no. I would play Diablo 1.
I play Diablo 2. I think that's the more formative game.
But if we did an episode on Hellfire.
The Witcher 2 or 3.
Full disclosure, I just bought both. Again, I
think I remember Gino saying that he really likes The Witcher 2. I could see him forcing the main podcast to play it.
Just
and
out
then
of
not
spite, we should
finishing
take it from him then.
Okay. Braden?
I
think that
I want to
2
play
is none of the above, or 2 would be main podcast. I'd say 3 is the watershed moment that basically CD Projekt Red has banked on for their entire life.
Witcher 3 is.
Yeah. Okay, question though. Witcher 1. Like
us.
No one?
That would be us. That game is jankalicious.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing that they turned that into a massive multimedia empire when you look at that first game.
That game is a It is
Euro
running
jank.
on the Neverwinter Nights 1 engine that has been duct taped together to have a terrible action combat.
You're gonna
It's
see how
amazing.
like there's completely no quest markers and like meet me back at the windmill at high noon,
Yeah.
and then there's just like that's it. That's all you get. You have to
You
remember to
You
come to
get
this location,
trading cards when you have sex with a lady.
and they're usually women in less dress. Okay, we got to move on. Dragon Age 2,
Main podcast.
because M
M
says
has
that
already expressed interest.
Yeah. If anything, that's a joint custody that I'm okay with. Probably main otherwise.
The Elder Scrolls Oblivion,
Main. It's too big.
The Elder Scrolls Skyrim,
Yeah,
No one.
No.
The Elder Scrolls Morrowind.
Good.
I
Elder
could see
Scrolls.
either.
Okay, so Braden, where are you? Oblivion, Skyrim, Morrowind.
I don't think anyone should play Skyrim. I would be interested in revisiting Oblivion just to ruin it for myself. And
Yeah, I think
I
that's
kind of
my
want the main
mindset, too.
podcast to do Morrowind just so that I can hear Gino complain.
Just pulling toenails out the whole time.
I
Being
think it
like,
would
there are no
hurt.
cards and you walk so slow.
I don't understand. I leveled up a stat just by hitting this bug 3 times. That's just
How do I
that's weird
optimize my
feedback.
character?
The Breath of Fire franchise.
I would play some of those.
Man.
I want to play Dragon Quarter.
In my head, those are just like C tier shit. It's probably us, but with no enthusiasm.
3 and 4 have some really good PS1 era Capcom sprite work,
I
but
know.
the one I would play is Dragon Quarter.
A Souls game.
That's definitely the main pod. I mean, Gino's
Gino
always
has
talking.
vetoed every single attempt to put a
Gino
Souls game.
loves Dark Souls.
I've never played one. I played the first 10 minutes of Demon Souls many years ago. I bought Dark Souls Remastered at some point, so...
You are the video game equivalent of someone who doesn't own a television.
I don't know. I mean, I can only be honest.
Okay, a little bit faster here.
Sure.
Romancing Saga,
Not the first one.
but us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Legend of Dragoon.
I mean,
No one.
spoilers.
Pod.
It's been nominated.
Oh, no.
Legend of Legaia.
Spoilers. It's also been nominated.
Eternal Sonata. I think we need to
That's us,
fight for
damn it.
Eternal Sonata. God
Yeah.
damn it.
I spent $15 on that. God damn it.
I will.
That's my content.
Did you
I
know what's
will
going to
pay
happen?
money.
I was joking with this with Braden. Gino's going to pick Eternal Sonata. Pete is not going to want to finish it, and then we're going to have to pick up the pieces and finish that goddamn game.
Yeah.
'Cause
Take
those
your
fucking
save
cowards
file.
won't finish their plate.
Transfer the save file onto a USB stick, mail me the USB stick, plug it into my 360. Jobs are good.
Okay. Wild Arms. Any game 1 through 3.
It's probably
That's us.
A Tales game.
100% us. Earlier the better.
A Front Mission game.
Us.
Yeah, you're just softballs. Come on.
The Lunar franchise.
Again,
Us.
softball.
A PS2 dot hack game.
These aren't even questions. These are just plans.
The Atelier franchise.
I might draw the line. But probably.
This is none of the above. You don't want that thickness.
I've never played one. They seem
Okay.
off-putting.
How do you feel about crafting and thighs?
If you don't know what we're talking about, Jeff, the lead artist for the Atelier franchise is well known for liking plus-sized women in very tight clothing.
It's
is
quietly a very popular genre of pornography. and yet-
they made the character designs in that series very spicy,
Mhm.
or as spicy as a T-rated JRPG can be.
Okay.
And I watched someone play some of that game, and I'm like, oh wow, no.
I am genuinely curious
He's,
if there's like an Atelier game that people like. This is the one you should play because they all.
Yeah,
seem,
that's my problem. Is I
Yeah.
don't know what is
Yeah.
the definitive
There are like
Atelier
18
game.
of those games,
Yeah,
and they all
seem
look
like
the same from
functionally-
the
yes,
outside.
exactly. So yeah. That's
Okay.
probably it.
All right. Any Yakuza game.
I could see the main podcast
Yeah, I want to play Zero.
playing
this year.
half a Yakuza.
It feels
Dark
main.
Cloud 1 or 2.
That's us.
Gino's going to fight the shit out of you.
We'll trade
Yeah,
them.
well,
Okay.
Um,
Pick one: Eternal Sonata or Dark Cloud.
I would take Eternal Sonata in a heartbeat.
Wow.
Rogue Galaxy.
Yeah, that's probably us.
Xenogears.
That's could break either way. That feels main potty. If they could get into Vagrant story, they could get into Xenogears.
Okay. Braden, any input? Or, yeah?
Parasite Eve.
Oh, yeah. Parasite Eve.
I'd play Paris.
It's 9
play
hours.
Parasite Eve.
I feel like the main podcast could do it if they committed. It's literally like an under 10-hour experience. Where was I? Oh, Any Disgaea game.
Nope. Bums me out.
Is this where I just admit that the answer is none of us should play a Disgaea game?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you said it because
I
the
think
next
those
one
games
I have,
are bad.
Wait, let me say the next one. Any non-Disgaea NIS game.
So that's like your fucking Phantom
La
Braves.
Pucelle.
and-
I want to play La
Is this
Pucelle
entire
Tactics.
podcast network never going to cover NIS? Because if you
Would
say
we
no,
play,
yes.
what is it, the 100-Year Witch? They're B tier properties that when they tried to branch out from Disgaea and failed.
Mhm.
Svi, right? NIS.
No, Zvi is Falcom.
Oh, right.
All right, I got another one. Rune Factory, to get into the discussion, is Harvest Moon an RPG?
I'm okay with it. Well,
I say Harvest Moon, no. Rune Factory, none.
I don't want to play Rune Factory.
Okay. Well, there's a different types of whimsy hand-drawn art coming up. Valkyrie Profile 1 or 2.
yeah. Or the that Indivisible game, which is apparently a lot like Valkyrie Profile.
So that's us.
I'd claim that one.
Okay. The Drakengard franchise.
I mean,
Listen.
it's otherwise it isn't getting covered. So we look forward to Drakengard 3 at some point, folks.
I own that game. That was the last game I bought before quarantine in 2020.
I basically had to break down all of the Atlas joints, so we're going to go one at a time. Persona 1.
No one should play Persona 1.
Dungeon crawling.
Yeah, I don't want
Revelations Persona, maybe.
Whatever package of Persona 2 you're able to get.
I mean, obviously you play both, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
300 hours a game or something. Persona 2 seems like a fun like pivot game, so maybe.
Yeah.
Like a connective tissue between Murky and Persona 3, so maybe.
I'm glad you asked, Jeff. Persona 3.
Which version?
The PSP version, yeah.
That forthcoming Steam version that's going to be perfect.
Female protag.
Yeah, female protag. The superior Persona 3
I
experience.
think the main podcast could cover 3.
Yeah, they should.
And they won't finish it either.
It's fine.
That's fine. That game is a billion hours long.
Continuing on, a mainline Mega 10 game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Digital Devil Saga.
They are still available on PS3.
Yeah.
Which means Gino could buy them. So, I don't know.
I think it might be a
Either
none.
way.
Nocturne.
That's a main series Mega 10 game.
Devil Survivor.
Those are the strategy ones.
Yes. Devil Survivor are the DS strategy ones.
I did not particularly care for those.
I would cover them.
You would. And I could be flogged into doing it. Stake my claim now.
Devil Summoner.
Hell yeah.
I could see Gino playing Devil Summoner.
I know.
Get that Meiji era.
Raito Kazunoga. What the fuck is that title for
Raito Kazunoha.
Anyways. Strange Journey.
Oh, you mean the best
That's us.
game? Yeah. Goddamn game is incredible.
Playing Soul Hackers. Just you wait.
I bought Soul Hackers.
I
All
own
right.
Soul Hackers.
Yeah.
Okay. Any pre-reboot Yeast game.
Yeah. Been there. Done that already.
Yeah.
We'll do more.
Yeah.
Post-reboot Yeast game.
Absolutely. They're
Still
all good.
us. I need to get back to East 9.
A Trails of game.
Good
Main
things.
podcast ain't never doing that.
None of the above, because I don't want that commitment.
I'm kind of with you.
Braden, I know that you keep saying that we need to cover one, but like it would literally be the only thing we cover for an entire year.
I will cover it for myself. I will
All right,
not stream it though.
Very important last one here. Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon Keep, a Wonderland's one-shot adventure.
Borderlands 2 just depresses me thinking about it. I can't. God.
Any notable missing things that I forgot to bring up, because that's it. That's the list. Oh wait,
That's
Star
the list of
Ocean,
JRPG.
which Star Ocean is a softball.
Yeah.
It's us.
I noticed you mentioned like 2 Western RPG.
No, I mentioned all of the
Okay, you mentioned
the
like 5.
BioWare shit
You know.
and Fallout and Diablo.
Where's your Inquisition? Where's your Nox? Where's your?
I mean, they're never going to play Neverwinter Nights or anything that's a D&D like.
I know your
They're not gonna
Pathfinder
play-
Kingmaker.
Yeah, they're not going to play Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous ever.
Your oh god, the Numenera.
Wait, Vampire the Masquerade. I should have put that one on.
Bloodlines.
Vampire
yeah.
the Masquerade, Bloodlines.
Gino has expressed interest in that game, but we
He's
should
not
cover
ready.
it.
He is not ready for that game. He's going to be like, why is this game so technically uneven? I can't play games that aren't like technical masterpieces.
Oh, you mean the first Source game? Okay.
All right, topic.
So Dragon Quest, right? It's a game.
Yep.
Okay, so a couple things to talk about with Dragon Quest, right? This is a game which reverberates through like multiple genres to this day. Like I think its influence like has kind of reached out beyond Japanese role-playing games in a lot of ways. But if you want to stick in that slice just for argument's sake right now, there's a case to be made that the apple has fallen like not very far from the tree at all, even like 35, 40 years later at this point. I think this is a game that is always going to feel kind of fresh, even if, and we'll talk about it, ultimately it's just kind of like a weird, poorly signposted chain of fetch quests, basically, with like a slog grind in between. Like, that's true, and I can't really sit here and defend that. But it's not like there are not dozens of JRPGs that come out annually that aspire to be nothing more than that. And in that sense, I think this is like it holds up remarkably well. In another sense, I think it's actually replaying it for this. I've been like, this maybe is not as rosy as I thought it was in some way. I think I was looking past some of the stuff because it had been like a year or two. But yeah, Dragon Quest 1. As we talked about in the most recent episode where we talked about Secret of the Stars, it's a surprise. It's a very influential game. Its DNA spread far and wide. I find this to be for better and for worse. Some scaffolding may be in order. So this was published by a company called Enix, which came into the world as a company called Aidansha Bolshu Service Center. Enix sort of rattles out of that at a certain point, which is a portmanteau of like Phoenix and ENIAC, the computer that was built during World War II, the first digital computer on the planet. But they were a technology company that sort of walked backwards into Japanese home computer game publishing. They merged with Square in 2003. They kind of were the, let's say, hostile party in that merger, or the buying party, because they had something called money, which is kind of the opposite of what Square had right about that time. They are not their publishing record in the United States and in like non-Japan territories basically kind of terse. So when you'd see an Enix game, it was always sort of novel. In Japan, they published ActRaiser. They published Robotech. It's kind of a strange portfolio of shit. They didn't even really publish the first few Dragon Warrior games in America. There was those were Nintendo, I think, was attached to at least that first one, which we'll talk about it, but a lot more copies of that than the other three. So you're like, wow, it's kind of a small thing. In Japan, they were a sales monolith, an institution, and that is largely based on the Soul series Dragon Quest. And when you start getting into its spin-off, your Tornico's Dungeons, etc., the even more money starts rattling out of that tree. Props to Enix for just for surviving in a sense from 1975. Like, there's a long list of companies that died between then and now, so like sort of impressive. They did not make this game, that said. Their whole gig was they were a publishing house. So they would do these sort of like a write-in magazine contest for, back in the day, kids, you could just send code to a company and they would either like put your shit on a cassette tape or floppy disk and mail it out for you and give you, like a $5 royalty check every once in a while. Or you could just write in code and they would run your shit in a magazine, which you would then have to enter by hand at your house to play like a really shitty version of like Berserk just by like hand typing in the entire game in basic code, like literally the language basic.
Now, Jeff, it is important to note that culture is still prevalent in some capacity in Japan, known as the doujinshi or doujin market. Like there are entire studios, whether they're publishing manga, anime, or actual video games, where they're the bigger companies that publish homebrew games on a bigger stage. It's like, hey, you want to press a disc? We got the assembly line. Give us your code. We'll do it. In the United States, it's like, I'm just going to post it on itch, which is its own benefit,
Yeah, like I think the Dojin sort of I don't want to say like indie spirit necessarily, but like there's a little bit of that DNA that sired this particular company, at least as a publisher. Which isn't to say that, but like I said, they were a publishing house. The manufacturer of this game was, in fact, in a different entity entirely, which also still exists, Chunsoft, now Spike Chunsoft, aka those people that published, that Fire Pro game, Steam, super recent. And, hit games like Conception, Danganronpa.
Zero Escape's pretty good.
Zero Escape is pretty.
I like Danganronpa. I will fight you.
I guess I can't really. So.
A lot of people seem to have liked AI, the Somnium Files.
I like AI, the Somnium Files.
But yes, their first title that they published was Door, which did eventually get a release on the Famicom, the disk system specifically. It's like an action platformer. It's like not too far divorced from Mappy. The second thing they ever made is one you've probably actually heard of. It's called, well, maybe in this slice of our audience, the Portopia Serial Murder Case. The second thing this company ever made was goddamn Portopia, which probably deserves a little treatment. The creator of that was also Yuji Horii, who's the Dragon Quest man. Which is to say, Yuji Horii is like a should probably mention in the same breath as like your Shigeru Miyamoto's and, for better or worse, Yuji Naka's and Yu Suzuki's and Kojima's of the world. Just for those two things alone. But Portopia was basically... I played Shadowgate on a Mac, because inexplicably these were really like Mac-facing people for the mid-'80s in Japan, and liked that a lot, and want to translate that experience, A, to a Japanese audience, and B, also to a Famicom. And pulled it off. Portopia is not a game I've played, but it is basically like your Rosetta Stone of a lot of visual novel stuff. It is a game about solving a mystery case. There's a lot of like Ace Attorney DNA there, I guess would be another meaningful comparison point. And there's dungeon crawler elements. You're kind of exploring a town, talking to people, and there's sort of a dialogue interface that looks, sort of akin to something you'd see in a visual novel now, only 30, 40 years ago. But then there'd be portions where you're exploring first-person environments in a very Wizardry-esque way, which was cribbed directly from games like Wizardry and Ultima, which Yuji Horii was also playing. So Portopia makes a lot of money for the parties concerned, Chunsoft, Enix, Nintendo, Yuji Horii the individual. And Yuji Horii becomes interested in, he's like, okay, so this adventure format kind of translates well, but this role-playing format, which I'm enjoying in hit games like, as I mentioned, Ultima and Wizardry on my 6502-based computers. These are also very fun. How do we, file a lot of the rough edges off of this and make it palatable to, a younger domestic audience in Japan? And Dragon Quest is the answer to that riddle.
You can see how this game was inspired by earlier classic CRPGs, both of the Ultima and Wizardry vein, and that the accommodations that were made to take the basic premises of those games to work on an NES are pretty obvious. There's no party management in this game, although they would find a way to do it in, I think, Dragon Quest II.
Yep.
The progression system for your single character is very simple. It's one-on-one battles from beginning to end, and there's 4 or 5 locations across a very large world. So yeah, it's a very simple game that lays a template that would be further refined over time. And I don't know, within the context, if you compare this game to what was available at the time, both in Japan and outside, there's only maybe a few PC-specific RPGs, I would say, that are better, more ambitious, or have more in-depth mechanics. But for something that came out in 1987?
86.
Or actually, 86? It's pretty novel, and like you said, it's more interesting, I think, to talk about its influence rather than the actual game itself is the one thing I would say.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, this game feels like it is such a, fundamentals game. It is, I am going to strip down the fundamentals of games that were already stripping down the fundamentals of D&D into something normal people, specifically younger people, could play on their Famicom. And I think in that sense, it is incredibly successful at what it does. I also think that it is borderline clicker in terms of how it handles progression and the numbers going up and the amount of user input.
I can see it. I can see the case for that. I really can.
I think that the other part of this is what it lacks. I just couldn't turn. I know that I have to give it the benefit of the doubt in terms of, oh yeah, the 86, sure. But we've always played that weird game of how far back in time can we go and still have a good time, or still like feel comfortable recommending something, or still feel comfortable like playing something to completion outside of the requirements of doing a podcast. And I don't know if outside of a podcast I would have completed this game. I don't know. I think I appreciate it, but it's kind of like I appreciate the cinematic contributions of like, and this is a huge hyperbolic statement. I appreciate the cinematic contributions of like A Birth of a Nation, but I don't like it. Or I appreciate the directorial contributions of Roman Polanski, but I'm not going to fucking check his work out.
I mean, it's
Rosemary's Baby is a cinematic classic, but fuck you, Roman Polanski.
I appreciate how hard in the paint you have gone. I don't want to undercut you there because, you know, we're actively talking about it, and I can't really. But the clicker comment has really got me thinking. Yeah, it's creaky.
So can I ask you, Jeff, for clarification? Like, when do some of the more currently distinctively Dragon Quest mechanics start to appear? Like, when do we see multiple parties members? Is that 2?
So that is 2.
When do I see Itagaki Street?
2, because it's another joint. That is a Hori joint. I think he was the brain that brought us Itagaki Street.
Fuck yeah.
So just one more slice of this industry you can thank Yuji Horii for. Yeah, Dragon Quest 2 introduced party characters, like multiple characters you're controlling, including one of the worst JRPG characters ever. Probably a shoe-in for anime shitboy if we get to him. The Prince of Cannock from Dragon Quest 2, who's a useless sack of shit. A character who, even in like official art, is often depicted as just a coffin that you were dragging around, because he is more often than not just dead, and you're having to like drag him back to get resurrected, because this was also before the advent of like resurrection items, really. So that's cool. So multiple parties, multiple enemies that you would have to fight that, you know, loosely sort of cooperate with each other and lead to some interesting decisions, which I guess belies the fact that this is a game where there's not a lot of like player agency, I suppose. It is open-ended in the sense that you are not given a lot of direction. I think there are some clever things that are done design-wise in this game that belie that. The map is, for lack of a better word, a shaped like a letter G, and you start your starting village. Your dad sends you off from a castle to go kill a big evil dragon lord. And right outside of the castle you start in, you see on the other side, let's say on the inside curve of this letter G, a big evil fucked up looking castle. It's just on the other side of a body of water. But you gotta, you know, basically walk the entire length of this G and back to get all the shit you need to make it over there to this castle. So I like it. It's sort of what's the fucking Zelda game? Breath of the Wild. You know, like you see your end goal from the start. It's very clear like what you are going to do in this game. There may as well be just like a defeat Draco Lord prompt somewhere in like a mission screen. This is a game that maybe would have benefited from something like a mission screen, because what you need to get over there is kind of a list of hoary old fetch quest shit.
You need 3 MacGuffins, basically.
3 MacGuffin. And they are basically rattled out of some permutation of like the 5 dungeons in this game. Basically, there's 5 dungeons, none of which are bonkers hard or anything, but they are incredibly, this map is 64 by 64 tiles, and we can really stretch the length of this by having you need to walk in a big maze with a bunch of blind alleys and corners and shit.
Some real classic dungeon design.
Yeah.
Drawn on graph paper.
And like, do I love doing that shit? No, of course not. It's kind of funny how long that shit persisted in the genre, I guess. Like, I would say it's not even necessarily gone even now. I do think it's impressive that the formula worked basically so well that, like, you know, for the first 5 years of this genre are people just basically doing that, like exactly that. like the first couple of Final Fantasy games that we've played, this is basically the school of dungeon design that they are employing. Phantasy Star 1, Phantasy Star 2, even, honestly. Like, this is the dungeon design we're talking about. And it's not great there either, but like in a very bog standard sense, it kind of works. It gets to, I think, a kernel of what Yuji Horii whole design philosophy was, which was kind of to make something that was the opposite in a sense of Super Mario Brothers, which was at the time, a very big Famicom game. Maybe you've heard of Super Mario Brothers. Like that is a game where you get better by playing, there's a skill floor that you need to meet in order to accomplish certain things in that game to get through the Bowser fights to like beat it. And Yuji Horii kind of wanted to get around this another way by basically saying, if you play this game enough, you will accumulate enough experience points that eventually the math will just break and you will be able to beat this game. So you are encouraged to continue playing it. If you're having a hard time getting through an encounter in this game, just go out and accumulate more experience and then come back, which, in 2021, we just call that a shitty grind fest, like a nightmare. Like, why would you do that? But if you can put yourself in, if you could really close your eyes and strain and pretend that you're like a 7-year-old boy in Japan in 1986, and your weekly Shonen Jump has just shown up and it's got an ad for this game where you're a little knight who can level up and fight dragons and shit.
He looks like Goku.
He does look like Goku. It's
From
like this
Dragon Ball.
There's something kind of there to it. I do think the clicker comparison is kind of apt. I think that gets into a darker question of like, are all of these games just kind of clickers? If you really, really strip it down.
If you really strip it down, yes. Congratulations. The human brain likes it when numbers go up. We're all stupid monkeys who just...
I think that B.F. Skinner would have something to say about this very topic.
Yes,
yeah,
put some Skinner boxes. I think this game is just the most egregious I've seen because it is so simple and it is so pared down. And I played it at double speed a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah.
When you watch me play it at normal speed? Oh, yeah. Which versions did we play?
Yeah.
So I originally played the NES version of the game before I realized that was a horrible mistake. Yeah. And then I played the Super Nintendo port of Dragon Quest 1 plus
1
2.
And 2.
Which to me, I feel like that's the definitive version of that game. It's not the weird, smooth graphical filters that you see in some of the
gross,
more modern,
cleaned up sprites.
I actually think it's a very beautiful game, and I also, damn it, I can't believe I'm going to say this. It's one of the better sounding games on the Super Nintendo.
It really is. Like, it's the sound effects are basically the NES ones by design thing that they'll never let go of. But the recompositions of those NES tunes actually sound very nice. I am playing on a PlayStation Portable on what seems to be the most recent version of a popular Super Famicom emulator, and the music's kind of busted.
Again, we have to say, in terms of anything related to Dragon Quest music, Koichi Sugiyama is a war crime denying piece of shit and a Japanese nationalist promoter, as well as a homophobe and a transphobe.
Yeah. Also dead.
He's dead now.
He's also dead, so he can rest in shit.
Yeah. Honestly, looking forward to, because there's already an announced Dragon Quest 12, what they are going to do. Because in addition to all of the literally, like, personally specific bad shit Sugiyama did, I also think his composition style is incredibly rote. Like,
it's just ostinatos
absolutely
and repeating
started
riffs.
Phoning it in by the later games. Like, having played Dragon Quest 11, that game's music, even in the Switch version, which has the good orchestrated music, is just, like, incredibly rote and baseline.
Like, you ever heard of chromatic scale? Check this out. You're going to start on the first note. Oh, check this out. Now we're going to start it on the second step of the chromatic scale. It's like Arpeggio City, baby.
At the start of the game, the franchise's beginnings, it's a compromise made for sound chips on home consoles, right? But
I got nothing against this game's music.
No. That man can fucking pound salt in the depths of hell, if there is one.
2 notes about the Japanese release of this, I suppose, as we're kind of treating this as more of an academic exercise, which is fine. There was a tape version of the soundtrack of this game that was distributed by some means. I'm not super sure how. I don't have it in front of me. But the idea was you would play this game with the taped version of the soundtrack, which is, I think, either like a chamber arrangement or like a small symphonic arrangement of these songs. It was like roughly contemporaneous with the game. So even as early as like late 1986, early 1987, there was already a market for like Sugiyama getting a band together. And I think he was conducting, in addition to being a horrible piece of shit, these songs. So, you know, they did the Psycho Soldier thing. Like they did the mod thing people are doing now where they're putting the CD versions of soundtracks onto Super Famicom ROMs and then running them in BSNES or whatever. So, like, that's neat. The other note, and this is probably the more interesting one, is Dragon Quest was not an immediate hit.
Right.
You know, the you're like, oh yeah, it came out and it just blew people's socks off. It's like, it came out in May and it took a couple months to get traction, and it owes a lot specifically to Shonen Jump magazine for just continuing to just advertise the ever living fuck out of it. Just
I feel like the stories of like people lining up for Dragon Quest and like running out of small note bills or whatever and forcing Dragon Quest games to release on a Sunday. I feel like that starts to happen around 3.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. 3 I think was the actual dam buster point.
Yeah, and we'll talk about like the United States and how this franchise took a very long time to strike a chord in the United States, but we have to realize that for some people, it's like every generation of gamer, it's a different Dragon Quest they grew up with. It's almost like Mario Kart in that regard. Like your favorite, like Ryan Davis rules, your favorite Mario Kart is the one that you played when you were like 6 or 7. The first one that you played, whether it's the SNES version, 100% the GBA.
Pokemon rules.
Yeah, it's the Pokemon rule. So this is the reason why that, you know, for a lot of people, it's Dragon Quest V. And we sometimes talk about the rise of Final Fantasy. We're on a podcast network where we're looking only at the Final Fantasy series, but like Dragon Quest 7 and 8 outsold every single Final Fantasy game that they were put up against.
Yeah.
Consistently in Japan, and it's not even a contest.
Dragon Quest 7 is the, I think, single best-selling PlayStation game worldwide, period. And if it's not, it's the best one that doesn't have Gran Turismo in the name.
Yeah, and it's because primarily, like, everyone bought a copy of it in Japan almost. Like, that's it. And of course, it had the benefit of having that art of Akira Toriyama, which, again, during the heyday of Akira Toriyama, where his art meant something.
The Dr.
Having
Slump
his art
guy and some other stuff.
But it took some time. It took some getting used to. And, you know, the core mechanics of the franchise really don't flesh out until, starting 3?
3, I think, is the most recognizable one. Like, 4-character party, there's some light job system treatment in it. I think 3, this is probably too reductive. 3 is probably the first, like, good one of these. And I say that as someone who I think likes Dragon Quest more than both of you combined, maybe. But yeah, this playthrough, I think all of its freakiness stuck out a lot more. The first time I played this game, I played the Game Boy Color version, which is released. It was compiled like the Super Famicom one I think you and me are both playing, with Dragon Quest 1 and 2. And, you know, as a Game Boy Color portable quick thing I'm picking up and putting down, it's all right. You lose some of the, you know, like the screen is like, you know, only so many tiles tall by wide. So your field of vision is not very big. And that only really comes to be a pain in the ass when you're trying to get around some of the fussier parts of the world or in the dungeons. But this is very much a game where, unless you are some kind of lunatic purist, just find them dungeons.
As someone explained to me on stream, there are 4 core mechanics to Dragon Quest 1. Combat spoils, hit points, exploration. Those are the 4 parts of the game. Those are just the 4 core ideas that you're going to have to run with come hell or high water. You know, maybe saving and understanding the level table, whatever, but you can kind of co-opt those into those 4 ideas. And those are the 4 things that this game runs with from beginning to end. Get your critical hits. We're not going to explain how critical hits work, but figure out you can fight, run, use a spell or item. That's it. pick up shit from enemies once you've defeated them, get the good stuff. We're not going to give you a ton of inventory slots, but we'll talk about that later.
Well,
Understand your hit points and restore your HP, and this is how we deal with death, which is a very ultimate approach to death.
Yeah.
And then explore this world.
Let's talk about this inventory thing now, because this was another a dividing line, I think, between this series and early Final Fantasy, and B, a thing that is like, I think, a weird credibility, a thing that defines JRPGs for good or ill, and maybe classic RPGs as well. You have like 10 inventory slots or some shit, and that is it. So,
and then also story items take up those slots.
Yes. There's no key item bag. You are just, if you want to, and I think your worn shit is also in, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So
equipping items doesn't remove them from a slot, which I think even Final Fantasy II had the courtesy of doing that. If you equip a sword, it goes away.
You will always permanently have 4 slots occupied by your equipment, and then once you start getting key items, you're going to have to put them in the vault. Otherwise, you won't have any room for anything.
Real weird thing, because this game also has an accessory system, but I ended up like de-equipping accessories because I felt like they didn't do anything. And in fact, I think the original release, one of your like bangles is supposed to increase your critical hit rate, but it actually is bugged to where it does nothing. I think that's the Warriors band or something like that. So it has these mechanics to use equipment, but you shouldn't put that much in there. And it's especially frustrating when you realize that these environments have secret doors and avenues for you to explore, and having keys takes up your inventory slots. Yes. And so it's like, it's this give or take of, do I explore this world and find this merchant? Well, I got to get rid of this part of my inventory.
Yeah, and then it just becomes, and so that's like the power curve of this game that you go up is like, not only are you're leveling up and you're getting better gear with money that you're accumulating, and you are also getting spells as you level up on a level table based system. And the power curve-ish feeling of those is actually kind of good. Like, I think
that it's actually immaculate.
Yeah.
Because this is something that the series has definitely carried through, is when the numbers go up, you feel it. When you get a new sword, it's like, oh, I can kill this enemy in 2 hits.
Yeah, the sparseness, the paucity of shit in this game makes every one of these little things matter. Like, feels like it matters a lot more. But yeah, like, getting the ability to just warp out of a dungeon is baller the first time, because otherwise you're stuck walking out of dungeons. And I don't know, there's a whole generation, I feel like, that has grown up on Skyrim now, where when you finish a dungeon, surprise, a wall breaks and there's the entrance again. Like, yep. It's like an anathema.
I will say, though, I mean, the one thing I will give this game credit for in terms of its mechanics, when you gain a level, you can tell the difference almost immediately, that your character has improved, that they are more powerful, that they are capable of stuff. I actually do think that there's not enough spells in the game, but the ones that are there, when you unlock a new spell, it means something. It means actually that the game will maybe possibly fundamentally change in terms of how you play it. I think, Jeff, before you said it, before we started this podcast, or Braden and I played this game, it's like, when you get that exit spell or the teleport spells, mind-blowing.
Yeah, like, suddenly I'm not spent, like, it's not like the map is particularly big in the grand scheme of things.
I would push back on that. I think this map is way too big for its own good, is the issue. And then, like, some of the labyrinthine, okay, I'm not ready to go across this swamp, so I have to snake around here and do this. And the last town, what was it? The town of Cantif, like, that entire getting there sequence sucked a lot of shit.
Yeah, for me, it's the choke points in the world. That it's like, this world is, it's not that, but
it's a lot of empty space.
But it's a lot of empty space, and it's a lot of like, oh, I know how to get to this town. It's just I have to walk, like I said, back to the dungeon design. It's just the most obtuse possible, like, walk this big fucking swirl to get through the 2 tile wide gap, to then go down and around to get to the place.
Just cast spell that reduces weak random encounters and play the game at double speed. And, listen to ZP complain while he plays the same game at 1x speed.
Yeah, the spell. So future versions of this game, at least, like every release, after the, I guess Super Famicom Forward, let's say, kind of agreed with the what if we just made this play at double speed, basically, in the sense that what they did was they basically doubled like the gold and experience yield. Or if they didn't do that, they like cut all of the I don't think they cut the actual experience thresholds in half. So what they called it was just like double yields everywhere.
Yeah, it's just a higher yield for my version. They even like rebalanced it in some ways, which is cool.
Yeah. A godsend, in fact.
I will say some of the more fucked up parts of this game are still here. For example, the cursed items are still in the game, and they are bullshit.
Yeah, the cursed items are one of the more PC RPG feeling elements of this game, but they feel even worse because it's like one guy. Like now my entire party, which is just one guy, is fucked, and I have to, early on in this game,
all the way back to a specific one-off dealer who will get rid of curses.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems contrary to everything, even during this era that I know of role-playing games, when I go up to a treasure chest and it's like, I can't open this because I got no room.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going to keep moving on.
It's like the main thing, one of the main things people complained about even in something like Breath of the Wild. Just like, it feels like shit to get to a chest and try to open it, and the game's like, no. It's like, well, why the fuck not? Why it's the most popular Elder Scrolls mods or inventory one. No one wants to be told no. You can't have the cool sword or whatever.
That said, the way the game handles death is very user-friendly. I mean, what happens is that you lose half your gold and the king restores you. Although if you're in the later portions of the game and you die and you teleport back to the king, you might as well just like restart your save because
there's a lot of walking.
There's a lot of walking.
But I was kind of like, oh, you did a nice to the player instead of like something that seems like oddly super mean-spirited or backwards. Like being restored and the only penalty is gold, and there just comes a point where gold is completely irrelevant.
Sure, once you've bought up equipment. And there's also a bank where you can just store piles of gold in units of 1,000. So like you can sort of protect some of your money that way if you're willing to take the time. But yeah, it's friendly feeling.
Yeah. I think to go back to our favorite topic, Gary Gygax.
Gary Gygax.
I think this is enough steps removed that like the inherent cruelty of old D&D was just lost. Because this game is, for an NES game of this era, it's not fuck you hard.
No, there are some fuck you moments.
Yes. There's some I stared at a guide to look out where this thing was.
Yeah,
I guess,
I'm going to trust that more to questionable signposting and design than I am in malice.
This leads to
in
like
the same way
final...
old wizardry teleporter mazes
Sure.
or whatever.
Yeah.
This leads to the final component of the game, which is exploration. And I think this is the part of the game that has aged the worst.
It's definitely
The way that the world is structured, the way that you navigate it. Like, I can understand, okay, one character fighting a single monster, very simple menu system. Okay, I can... Limited inventory slots. I bet there was, like, some amount of text that they felt comfortable programming without going over the limit for carts at the time.
Yeah.
And, like, cost. But, like, the exploration of this game is a weird mix of that classic PC CRPG experience at the time, whether it be Wizardry or Ultima, and some modernized, I'm putting that in quotations because there's like a weird attempt to kind of smooth the edges. And I think one of those smoothing of the edges is all of the dungeons are really short and there's not that many.
Yes.
But they're still labyrinthine with a bunch of dead ends, and the random encounter rates can be wild. There are you can't unlock this part of the world yet. You got to do this kind of questing around and getting MacGuffins, but knowing where to go in this game sucks. Like, knowing who to talk to sucks. It's a weird amalgam experience in terms of the exploration. I heard
I guess the comparison I'd make is Final Fantasy 1, which you both have played semi-recently, last couple of years.
Yeah.
Is it better or worse?
I personally think this is a better game than Final Fantasy 1.
This game doesn't have bullshit status effects like Paralyze. And then also, Final Fantasy 1 is longer and accomplishes just about as much as Dragon Quest 1.
That is,
in terms of like the riveting highs and like even storytelling.
Yeah, it does. This does more with less in a smaller amount of time, particularly if you're playing one of the more modern sort of remakes of it. Like the same on-ramp feels the same. If for as fiddly as parts of this game are, you spend less time fiddle fucking around with like inventory management and such shit. And it gets you to, I think, what they intended you to be doing, which is like exploring and finding shit and making your guy stronger to go fight a very clearly defined end boss sort of thing. So yeah, I do think this trumps the first Final Fantasy. There's kind of a long list of games that do. I think it was basically 3 or 4, and you can make a case for either of those, I think, where they kind of got to parity. But
yeah, I just feel like this is a game that I played, and I had a fun time, and I appreciate its contributions. But I definitely think that what it convinced me of is I'm probably going to have to play another Dragon Quest game to really understand what this franchise is and why it's had the cultural and the indelible cultural mark on people that it has had. And
it's going to be Dragon Quest 7.
I kind of... Oh, fuck. Oh, God. You're going to force us to play 90-hour
Jeff, I know you hate Dragon Quest 7. Don't even lie.
I restarted that game a while ago. I think I'm 20 hours in, so I think I've seen the first 10% of that game.
You finally have gameplay now. You got to the first part of the game.
I haven't unlocked
like
the job system yet, so, you know.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. The game that is notoriously well known for being, on a good day, a 100-hour experience.
Yeah. The 3DS version improvement. I'm not going to say it's the.
So you're saying we should play 5?
A5. A5.
3 or 5.
If we play 5, we can watch the bad CG movie that came out a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah, that CG movie.
Your Story.
Dragon Quest Your Story by Toho.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about the American half-life of this game, right?
Sure.
So Dragon Quest comes out in 1986. By the way, a couple other fun side notes. I only own... Well, I guess I own 2 versions. I own the Game Boy Color, an okay way to experience. And I own an original Japanese cartridge of Dragon Quest, just as like a sentimental token. That cartridge is a 64 kilobyte cartridge. So for frame of reference, the largest non-mapper chip size cartridges that they would make in Japan were 40 kilobytes. So Xevious and Super Mario Brothers and like a couple other 1985, 1986, early 86 games. That was as big as they got was 40. The first handful of games that were bigger than that would get up to like 48. This is 64 kilobytes, which is like small and big. It's kind of insane to think how much they get out of like a 64 kilobyte cartridge. The other part is originally this game did not have a battery.
Oh.
This had a password.
You had to write down
system.
The password.
Yeah. And I think it was a mix kana and alphabetical password. I'd have to put in my cartridge to verify this, but yeah, it was a password save system. And that was because specifically they were cheaping out and not wanting to pay for a battery. And they also didn't want to release this on the disk system, which would have also let them not use passwords. Dragon Quest II, when it came out, is a larger game. And people were like, maybe they'll use a battery backup. And they're like, nah, fuck that. Password system again. And it's even longer and even shittier. And that's like the 2 gripes about that game in Japan. The loudest ones were probably, Prince of Canock is fucking terrible. Like, just a dog shit RPG character. Oh my god, he's useless. And also,
Jeff, what
no
about
battery.
Torneko and Torneko no Daiboken and his sub-series and his mystery random dungeons?
He was a twinkle in Chunsoft's eye when Dragon Quest II got made. But yeah, so bad character and then shitty password system. Dragon Quest III was the first card that had a battery backup, and it was a godsend. It's probably one of the reasons that game did as well as it did even outside of the other two. So there's your fun divergence there. So this gets released in America.
Damn straight it does.
In August 1989, so over 3 years after the Japanese release. And as mentioned, it was a pack-in, basically. See.
They included it with your Nintendo Power.
500,000 copies of this were ultimately sold in the United States. And I don't know, A, this is just a Wikipedia top of page number, so take that with a large grain of salt. B, I don't know if that is sold as in Nintendo bought these and then packed them in with magazines and mailed them out, or literally these were the ones that got onto a shelf and then were bought. But this is the only one of these games that is common, like widely easily purchasable and found in the US in like secondhand markets right now. For the time, it's like a pretty big localization job, I suppose. There's like not a tremendous amount of text in this game relative to something like Dragon Quest VII or some nightmare, but it led to them bumping up the cart size from 64 kilobytes to 80. So, you get a whole nother chunk of ROM on there. Not only that, they also touched up a couple of the little graphical flourishes. So the Japanese version, I think the hero's name is Aleph. Canonically, his sprite doesn't have like a side or back facing mode, and it didn't animate. So it was just a man facing forward that you just kind of moved around basically everywhere. They changed that in the US version, so he like turned when he walked in a direction, and they animated the water in the world. So the original version of this is a very kind of still game in a lot of ways. I think the shores are animated as well. They added a couple graphical flourishes. I think the other change they added was when you go to steps, this is another Dragon Quest ism, you don't need to manually open a menu and select stairs, which is, I think, remains true in the Japanese version for a very long time. Doors and stairs and chests to like open a specific prompt to use. Otherwise, they would just like stand there, do nothing. That's fun, isn't it? Don't you like that?
I love having to remember a specific hotkey to go downstairs. It's why I play so much NetHack, Jeff.
NetHack's fun.
No, it isn't. Don't lie. Hearing about NetHack is fun.
Dicking around. That's like the third thing I do with every new like laptop I get when I get Linux on there is I install BSD games and I get NetHack going and I play it for like an hour. Now I'm like, that's a good time. And then I never do it again. Like literally the production Linux servers, like everything. NetHack is probably on all of those. So this was a commercial product in the United States. It got localized, it got touched up, and a year later, Final Fantasy came out and just creamed it. I think that it's an interesting philosophical long conversation as to why that is. I think a lot of it just has to do with art, presentation, and timing. Final Fantasy, I think, just got marketed better. I don't know. Dragon Warrior, the box art for the version that came out in the United States has no anime-ness to it, really.
Which was always weird because, like, Dragon Ball and Akira Toriyama's works were just inkling or just starting to get popular in the United States. Like, there were the first rumblings that this big franchise was going to explode in the United States.
Right. Like, weeb culture, nascent weeb culture certainly existed. I just wonder if maybe weeb culture was already like screaming about stuff not getting localized for like the Turbo CD at this point, like if it was already there. But yeah, this became Final Fantasy country for better or worse. And yet, they kept trying. So this came out in, according to Wikipedia, August 1989. They tried again, and it looks like Nintendo published all 4 of these. Yeah. Well, NX's name is on the 4th one. But yeah, Dragon Quest 1 through 4 all get localized and come out here like in reasonably short amount of time. So like next year you get Dragon Quest 2. 2 years later you get Dragon Quest 3 and 4, which are not small games, and yet they were completely localized, like translated into English in full. And those last 2 specifically are not the cheapest aftermarket cartridges to go find right now.
I bet, because they're NES games that came out after the SNES.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And
like
I think
a while
Final
after
Fantasy 4/2 would that have been out in the US by then?
Yes, it was. That was a 1991 game. It was like a July 91. So imagine releasing Dragon Quest 3 and 4, which are by all accounts good games, but they come out after something is kind of thunderously good as Final Fantasy IV in the United States on like a newer hardware, like it's just weird like why they did the way they did. But suffice to say, they weren't like tremendously successful games over here.
I mean, when we stop and think about it, was it the PS2 era was the PS1 or the PS2 era of Dragon Quest when Dragon Quest actually became a staple in the United States and outside of Japan?
Probably the PS2. I mean, the only one of those games that gets even touched for a while is Dragon Quest VII, and that came out, I think, around the time the PS2 did in the United States.
And oddly enough, I remember like when it was finally accepted that Dragon Quest could, in quotations, I'm putting this in quotation, work outside of Japan was when they started releasing the games on the Nintendo DS. Because those DS games sold like fucking bananas.
And they're also expensive and hard to get.
Yeah.
Which is bananas.
Fucking aftermarket DS carts of Final Fantasy V. If you want one that isn't a shitty bootleg, you're going to pay.
Just hack your DS.
Money.
It's really easy.
Jeff, we don't endorse piracy. Shh.
I don't either.
We just endorse getting it
Jeff,
where you can.
I forget. Wasn't it 10 the one that was an MMORPG?
Yeah, still going. On the Wii and Wii U. I don't know if the Wii version's still live, but that Wii U version, still live. It's an ongoing MMORPG. The Dragon Quest X, The Five Tribes, I think it's called. It's crazy. Yeah, this game, Dragon Quest VII, came out after the PlayStation 2 launch in Japan, which was like March 2000, and this came out in August 2000. So it was like a Final Fantasy IX scenario. And then this came out, it came out like a year later in the United States, which was after the American launch of the PS2. So, and like, you know why? It's because that game was in production forever, and the translation job on it was like it's just Finnegan's Wake. How bad can it be? Like, nightmare to translate with all the text. But anyway, so it took a while. Dragon Quest VIII was the first one of these games that I think really actually was an actual unqualified success in the United States.
Yes.
Yeah.
And half of that was because I had the Final Fantasy 12 demo. Some real Zone of the Ender.
Yeah, the Tobal one of RPGs or whatever.
I will never forget when GameSpy, or I'm sorry, 1UP, I think it was also GameSpy, gave Best RPG to Dragon Quest VIII over Kingdom Hearts 2, and fucking the game FAQs and GameSpot forums blew the fuck up, and it was the best. It was the best seeing all of these angry Kingdom Hearts 2 fans say, how could you give the story so much more involved? Oh, God.
Okay.
It's a good game.
This is unrelated, but I guess I'll put this to you, too, because you're my friends and I trust you. I've got a list of 5 games I want to, like, play this generally. This is, like, very outside the scope of this show.
Go ahead.
Just for, like, edification. For my own, like, I should get these off my list. They've been there too long. This list of 5 games that I want to, like, beat or comprehend and appreciate are Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
No, we're not playing Metal Gear.
Oh, not for this show. This is just for me.
Okay.
This is a Jeff problem.
Okay.
I think I have it in my heart to really like MGS3, by the way. Tales of Vesperia, which could be this show game. Resident Evil the First. Thunder Force 3, the Sega Mega Drive shooter, which is apparently really good. Appreciate a genre piece. And then Yakuza 0, which I feel like those are like 5, I can make an argument for why I want to touch all those. Should I sub one of those for Kingdom Hearts 2 just to get it over with?
Did you play Kingdom Hearts 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Up to the part where you have to fight the boat, and then I just like bailed. It's like, you know what? I get it. I'm good. I'll watch this.
I think Kingdom Hearts 2 is a remarkably better playing game.
It would have to be. Kingdom Hearts
They
is pretty
took Kingdom Hearts
bad.
1's like incredibly stiff and bad and floaty.
Hey, Jeff, talk about how much fun that final boss is with that boat.
I mean, I just stopped at a certain point.
Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix is legitimately a very fun action RPG, and also it's fucking batshit stupid.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. But would I, if I had to shake can Tales of Vesperia or like Yakuza 0 for Kingdom Hearts 2?
Listen, we can't play Tales of Vesperia because we're clearly playing Tales of Grace's F this year.
Yeah.
Jeff.
another PS3 remake that we got duped into buying.
Yep.
When they head faked us.
I sure did buy that game the day of my graduation.
Chris, what do you think? Should I play Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix?
I mean,
I got no
here's
pony
the thing,
in this
Jeff,
race.
Like Resident Evil 1, you can plink that out in 6 hours.
Yeah, for sure. But I need to sit down and do it. Just the committing to doing it.
I did it on a whim last year. You can too.
Thunder Force 3 is probably an hour long. It's just going to be
then I'd say rather than take something off your list, just add it in and say that that's your extra credit. You do extra credit to get.
If you want to do a bonus episode on Kingdom Hearts 2 with M and I,
where I'm just like,
you're just like
you're all broken,
and then I'm like, but no, it's Jesse McCartney, Jeff. Everyone loves mid-2000s teen heartthrob Jesse McCartney.
What I say.
Are you gonna actually convince me to play?
They got Tron.
I could be convinced to play Kingdom.
Well, I'm going to take
Tron is in that game.
I'm going to take all of this under advisement, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap this up by ranking Dragon Quest on our official list here.
There's not much of a story. Evil Dragon dude. Blah,
by the way,
blah,
you
blah.
go fight a boss. The one neat thing.
Wait, no, the thing that we need to talk about is some of the bullshit item picking up of stuff. It's awful.
Yeah, it's a fetch quest chain, and it's kind of like you're basically told you need a collection of various MacGuffins in order to trigger the thing that will let you go fight the final boss.
The two that I thought were especially egregious is Edric's armor, which I know people are going to scream at the top of their lungs that Edric's armor is optional technically, but it's like you got to spend so much time on that poisonous swamp, you kind of do need it unless you know exactly where the fuck this shit is.
Yeah.
And it's like a tree that leads to a fucking boss fight, and it's not fun. And then on top of that, getting that token was the worst. That token where you have to like constantly call the princess and she gives you like cardinal coordinates.
Yeah, so one of the items is at a very specific spot on the map, basically. And, you either need to play one of two games. It is, as you said, use an item you get for rescuing a princess, which is also, strictly speaking, optional, by the way, that tells you exactly where you are plotted in an X and Y fashion castle. Or you just hunt and peck over the entire map of this game until you find it, basically.
Or you pick up a map from www.gamefacts.gamespot.com and you just you just get it because it's 2022 and I don't need that in my life.
That's okay. There's a certain Tower of Druaga, yes, I'm going to throw down the gauntlet, nature to this game where like, when you were initially playing this again as a group of elementary school boys in Japan, like the collective, oh, did you find this thing? Yeah, oh God, you need to go over here. Check this out. Like collective, I guess Dark Souls is the real comparison now, right? Where the community has to solve all these puzzles. But really, it's kind of like, I think this works better in 1986, as with so many things in these crustier old vintage games. But yeah, the idea of like, play battleship coordinate metal that you more or less need to beat this game. That doesn't hold up particularly well. This game, I think, is described more or less in that manner a lot of the time. The other, I guess, fun thing is you can get to the final boss who basically gives you I'm gonna fucking blow up the world. I need a lieutenant. You want to join me? Yes, no prompt. And you can select yes, like I'll hang out with you, which I think is the canonical beginning
ending
of Dragon Quest
Builders.
Yeah. Is
Which
a
is
world
such
where,
a cool touch.
Yeah, clever. It doesn't really amount to anything in the grand scheme, but it's a nice anime feel.
I guess
right?
that's something that's... finish your thought. I'm going to say something.
No, that's about what...
Yeah, but what happens if you try to actually side with the evil dude?
The game just ends. I think it just blacks out and it says like anime based.
All right, so the progeny of Dragon Quest versus the many spin-off games is kind of bananas. I mean, like, I made a joke about those Tornico Mystery Dungeon games, but there's even like spin-offs of that original Tornico game. Like, there's 2 or 3 different Mystery Dungeon spin-off Dragon Quest
Literally,
franchises.
The first Mystery Dungeon game was a Dragon Quest.
There was Tornico, then Tornico's The Last Hope, I think, then Tornico 3, and then they rebooted the franchise as Young Yangus. Basically, his son became his own thing. And then there's Dragon Quest Monsters. And then they rebooted Dragon Quest Monsters into Dragon Quest Monsters Joker. And it's like mechanically its own thing. And then there's the Slime series, right?
Yep.
Rocket Slime.
The Rocket Slime.
I actually remember liking Rocket Slime at the time. It was a good handheld experience. Just your two robot slime fortresses going at it. It was a good time.
And, then they made those Musou games.
Yeah, they made those Heroes games, which I don't fucking like Musou games, but apparently they're like good versions of that. And then there's all of the many mobile games that they made. They did a tactics game that was like Dragon Quest War.
Oh, yeah, the DSi game that is also on my legitimate DSi.
Uh-huh.
And then Dragon Quest Builders, which seems like a fun sandbox thing. And then they started putting Dragon Quest characters in Theater Rhythm. They even did a Theater Rhythm game, right?
Yeah, a Japanese
dedicated to
exclusive
Dragon
one.
Quest.
Yeah, I can't imagine a more dull experience in some ways. But if you really, really, really like arpeggios, that may be the game for you.
They should make a Theater Rhythm themed to Philip Glass, and I bet it would be more entertaining.
Okay.
That's a musical deep cut.
Yeah,
you got my musical deep cut. And then Itagaki Streak eventually became its own franchise.
Yeah, which incorporates some of the DNA of both series at a certain
Itagaki
point.
Street. Let's all play Fortune Street together.
Let's play Fortune Street.
Fuck
Can
that.
we play Fortune Street?
We're a Dokapon Kingdom house, okay?
Oh, Jesus, Jeff. If you pick Dokapon Kingdom for the podcast and we figure out some way to play over Dolphin, I will kill you.
There's a way. I don't want
to
do
do it. Hate.
Yeah, I goddamn hate that game.
It is malice. That game makes Draken look kind and friendly.
Let's rank this?
Yeah. So, from top to bottom, the existing list here on Off the Deep End, Suikoden, Xenosaga Episode 1, Grandia 2, a game which received some accolades on the GOTY episode, Ultima 4, Quest of the Avatar, Fire Emblem 1, Bahamut Lagoon, Soma Bringer, Ace 3, all versions, not the remake, Lord of the Rings Third Age Console, wherein I've then written the mediocrity line, below which we have Arabian Nights, Lord of the Rings Third Age GBA, Revengers of Vengeance, Draken, and Secret of the Stars. Draw a Kusoge line somewhere in there. So here's the thing. Before we recorded this, before I got maybe, halfway through this game again, I was pretty confident this belonged at the top of this list. And I mean, that's a sincere statement. Because I was like, there's literally no fat on the bone on this one. It's just a good, brief, 8 to 10 hour JRPG experience, and that's literally all it is. I can't do that in good conscience anymore. I'm not going to argue for that. That's actually kind of a nonsense.
So here's my proposal. Let's start at the middle and then work our way top before we find our limit.
Sure. Well, yeah. Okay, so Soma Bringer. Up or down?
Up. It's better than Soma Bringer.
Bahamut Lagoon.
Better. It's better.
Fire Emblem 1. That's an interesting story.
It's not as good as Fire Emblem 1.
I'm inclined to agree.
I'm gonna put my foot down here. The first Fire Emblem is remarkably sophisticated for a Famicom game.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The only thing that gives me slight pause is Ultima Thor's right above that, but.
And you think this is better than Ultima 4?
No. It's just it feels like a better thought piece, but this is a good crease for it, I think. These are very
old but good, or
yes.
Old but important.
Yes,
this is like the Baseball Hall of Fame. They have a special committee that puts all of the people who played before television in their own separate siloed section of the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the records for this player are all back on vellum paper. They apparently were very good section. Yeah, Dragon Quest 1, I feel like I can just say it. What an influential thing. So it holds up better than you think.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not having a bad time, but it was definitely, this game is the definition of podcast game.
Yeah.
Turn your brain off, play it, hope for the best,
Your clicker
and you
comment
move on.
still.
Dragon Quest XI is actually a good game.
Yeah. What I've played of Dragon Quest V, pretty good game. Dragon Quest VII is not a bad game.
Fuck y'all, I'm going to force you to play Dragon Quest
Listen,
Swords for the original Wii.
Listen, you fuckers. If you're dismissing Trails and then talking about Dragon Quest VII or the entire Yakuza series,
look,
we need to have a talk.
This is my sickness, okay? And I have it in my heart to play Falcom stuff. It's not the first
Drown
thing to
me
grab
in
me.
East, and
I'm right there with you. I should put
we
East...
should play the Trails crossover game.
I should just put East 2 on this list.
Oh, wait, now I remember. We need to figure out Baten Kaitos.
It's got cards. It's disqualified. I will not veer from this position.
Hey, who do you think is going to play Mother 3? Us or the main podcast?
No one.
I don't want
How about Earthbound?
I don't want Mother 3 people talking to me.
But let's just play Omori.
Digimon, Mega Man Battle Network.
I've seen Reki play Battle Network 4.
Jeff, we could be the ones to play Radical Dreamers for the Satellaview.
Man,
Radical Dreamers isn't a video game.
It's a lifestyle choice.
And it has stats. They're just not shown at all. Radical Dreamers is so cool and so not great at the same time. What a perfect companion to Chrono Cross.
All right.
Okay, Dragon Quest 1, done and dusted. What's next? Where are we going from here? I believe it is a ZP pick.
It is my turn to pick a game, and I've decided, follow in tradition with what Jeff has basically set out for us, which is a fun but short time. Hence why my pick for the next podcast of Op the Deep End will be looking at Quest for Glory 1.
So you want to be a hero.
This is going to merge my two favorite genres. As you all know, I am an adventure gamer in my heart and also a CRPG gamer. And this is one of the few games that merges, traditional point and click or parser-based adventuring with an RPG. And there's some really interesting stuff here. Now, I am going to insist on one thing. There are 3 distinct classes in Quest for Glory 1, and I think Braden can also join me in terms of saying this. The way that each of these characters plays is different enough to where I think one of us should pick each of the classes. So I know, Jeff, that you are you're going in with not as much knowledge of what these 3 classes are, but it's basically a wizard, a rogue, and a DPS. Basically a warrior.
Okay.
And
do you want to solve problems with magic, with finesse, or with hitting it?
And I'm trying to think. I'm almost of the opinion that maybe Jeff should play the warrior, but I don't know. What do you think?
When I played
Braden?
this game a decade ago, or a little less than a decade ago, 2013, 2014, I played as the thief, and you break into people's houses and steal their shit.
It's fun. It's a little bit harder.
You can climb walls. Good.
Are you trying to sell me on this game, or are you just shit taking?
I enjoyed my time with it.
I think that maybe because the thief is going to allow you to not have to worry about MP, but it's also going to give you opportunities to do skill checks, which are probably the most novel part of this game, how it does skill checks in a way that's
How do you feel
not
about
punishing.
grinding for skills, Jeff?
Sitting here,
If
played
you use
hundreds
a
of
lockpick
hours
on your
of
nose
Elder Scrolls
and
games,
your skill is too low, you kill yourself because it's still a Sierra game.
Mm-hmm.
You try to lockpick your nose and you die.
I'll take whatever you guys leave over.
I'll play as the magic user, I guess.
Okay. I guess that leaves the fighter, which is maybe the more boring option, but okay. And then Jeff, you'll play the thief.
Okay. All right.
I can level up the fighter pretty easily in this game.
How are we going to do it when we get to the rest of the games and they also add the paladin class?
The paladin class is actually a lot of fun, even if it's a glass cannon. Anyways, there's a fun little feature to Quest for Glory 1 where you can enable the VGA and the original version of Quest for Glory.
Yeah.
I think you can figure out which one of those you should do.
The one that doesn't have a text parser.
Yeah.
Also, it works in ScumVM now.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
So that is how I will be playing it.
Yeah.
I will be doing the GOG version and going with the Ever version is the one that looks the best, and then dealing with it from there.
nice GOG packaged DOSBox wrapped up version of this game. I've got my Munt emulator up and going on both machines of concern. Should be a CRPG ass time, baby. Nothing but clear skies. Okay. Thanks for playing the Off the Deep End home game, everyone. We hope you enjoyed your time with Dragon Quest and took advantage of the GOG sale since departed, where you could have picked up Quest for Glory for like a nickel or something. It's probably back up to like $10 for the first 5 Quest for Glory games. Maybe the only 5. I don't know how many of these there are. We appreciate you being here. As mentioned, questions, comments, prayer, concerns, they go to inquiries@deep.lol. You can also yell at us on the Discord, which you are already on if you are a Patreon contributor. Again, we are deeply thankful for those of you who are. If you are not, we'd love it if you contributed. That would be great. Any dollar amount gets you access to that. Gets you a little further along to seeing us dick with Unlimited Saga, a turd, and, Jeff karaoke videos, which will be just a real nice production time. Might help me buy a hammered dulcimer, This may be the year of the dulcimer for Jeff, so if you want some dulcimer karaoke, pay for that. Special shout out, speaking of musical stuff, to SuperSex420, the artist who has provisioned us the hit song Halfway, which you hear at the beginning and outro of this podcast. This and other great tracks by SuperSex420 are available on Bandcamp.com. So that's all we got. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you all next time with Quest for Glory 1. And remember, this is probably not germane to be playing this game at all. There's no such thing as cheating in a single-player game. Okay, bye.
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 This episode of Off the Deep End was recorded and edited on the traditional and ancestral territory of the Nisqually or Nisqually people, who have lived on and stewarded these lands and waters since times immemorial.